Well, welcome, Bryon. So thankful that you're here. I'm excited that we get to have this conversation, learn a little bit more about you and a little more about what you do. So we got 5 questions in 5 minutes. So let's start. Who is Bryon Crump?
Great, thanks, Tim. So who am I? I am been in the packaging industry for about 30 years. With EnviroPAK, a good portion of that, and here at EnviroPAK, I'm one of the owners and the vice president and responsible for marketing, sales, and actually some production planning. So
Awesome. Awesome. What does EnviroPAK actually do?
yeah, so EnviroPAK is a custom solutions manufacturer utilizing molded fiber. So what we do is we repurpose about 5,000 tons every year of scrap paper from a variety of sources. Best example to kind of think of is like a 4-cup carrier or a paper egg carton. We're just using that same technology to develop custom solutions for a variety of our clients.
So you're taking in that material, processing it, and turning it into something a little more sustainable.
We do. We bring it in from, like I said, a variety of different sources and a couple different types of papers. As we bring that in, we had no chemical starches, adhesives, anything like that to the product. So kind of what comes in one end kind of comes out the other end in just kind of a different shape or a different form. So it's really a very sustainable process and really doing a great job of keeping, those tons of paper out of either a landfill or anything like that.
Mm.
So
So if I'm a manufacturer then, and I've got this product, making thousands or millions of them, how do you guys at EnviroPAK actually help me be more sustainable as I make my decisions about packaging types?
yeah, so often clients come to us really under kind of a couple reasons. One is to kind of solve a traditional kind of packaging problem, right? We've all opened up a box and what we thought we were going to start using that day is broken, and so some of the times what we're doing is solving those problems. Hey, how do I fix my packaging problem so that the product that I'm shipping from point A to B or wherever arrives where it's supposed to be, and my consumers are happy with the result there. Other times they come to us and say, hey, it's currently working, but I'm looking for something maybe a little more sustainable. Maybe they're using something like a plastic or a resin kind of product, and either based on some sort of regulatory kind of pressure maybe that they're seeing, or really the big thing we're seeing now is like consumer pressure, right? Consumer perception about what that packaging looks like is driving some of our clients to say, it's kind of been good enough, but now we have to kind of make some changes. It's great when we can kind of marry both of those scenarios together. When a customer comes to us and says, "Hey, I got a problem. It's kind of been in kind of a plastic kind of thing, but I want to kind of solve its problem, and I want to kind of grab that sustainability aspect." That's really the best of both worlds, and often we get the chance to do that, and it's great when we can actually produce something that's just totally solves a lot of the problems that the customers may have.
As you're thinking about your customer base and some of the things that you guys do you have like a specific example about how EnviroPAK has had a sustainability story or a circularity win for somebody?
Yeah, I mean, a couple really cool ones come to mind is we recently were basically looking at our incoming material, which we get from a variety of sources. And one of the sources that we were getting it from is a commercial printer. So when they had reached either the end of a run, scrap, whatever reason, they had some scrap on the end of that run, and that was sent to us. And when we went and saw it, we recognized the logo and we're like, hey, that's one of our clients. So we walked over and we looked at it and we're like, oh my gosh, what's even crazier about that is not only is it one of our clients, it's actually the product that we're making the packaging for right now on the machine. So we literally kind of took this piece and it was for like a rough valve for a plumbing client. And we're like, look at this, at the other end, this is what basically some scrap from one component of their supply chain was producing, and that was diverting to us, which was another component of their supply chain, and we were repurposing it and sending that. So instead of like, one supplier generating scrap and it kind of going in a an avenue and us producing any scrap and it going and somebody else along the way. It was literally kind of, waterfalling down to where we were ultimately producing, their packaging using some scrap earlier in their process. And we've done that as well with clients that, say, hey, I got old boxes, or scrap boxes, or I changed my logo, whatever, and we'll pulp that up and make packaging out of it. So, it's something as simple as a box.
That's super cool. Super cool. So last question, take out your crystal ball. What do you see for the future of sustainable packaging for manufacturers? Where's all this going? What are the trends that manufacturers should be thinking about when it comes to their packaging?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that kind of regulation. I mean, that's a one that we're seeing. But that consumer perception is really kind of driving a lot of things right now. I mean, the internet's an amazing thing. Social media is an amazing thing. And when some client opens up, a box and looks at it, I think we kind of look at maybe like an Apple out of the box video that, is out there. And there's so many more of those kind of videos. The consumer perception is kind of driving it. And paper, fiber-based materials like molded fiber have been around for over 100 years. I mean, again, kind of thinking back to an 8 carton and a 4 cup carrier, what we're doing is we're taking that same technology that's been around for 100 years to repurpose scrap that's being produced in the waste stream, and we're molding it for something that meets that requirement. If you think back, one of the very first things that you recycled was at curb, we'll say at your curbside, was probably a newspaper, right? And if you think about it, what we're producing is just, like I said, a different form of that same media or that same substrate. And so what a lot of the regulation is saying is it's got to be easily recyclable. And so if I think back to the very first thing that maybe I recycled in that bin, that's still able to be recycled. So if I'm producing a product that's producing packaging that's ending up at a consumer, and then their decision when they walk out to their 2 bins is, trash can or the recycle bin, it's got to be in one of those. And, some of the plastics that are out there can't be. Whereas, again, the paper has historically been and continues to be, because there's an avenue for people that want it, us being as an example of that, and a lot of others. And so I'd say regulation, consumer perception is really what's taken it, and molded fiber that's been around for 100 plus years is really seeing an emergence in that space to kind of solve that problem as customers want to get out of plastic base in their foods, their bodies, and stuff like that. It has its purpose, but molded fiber that's been around for this long is really serving a great opportunity to solve a lot of those issues.
So cool. Well, I'll be looking for your packaging next time I open up a new product. Really cool to know that you guys are here in St. Louis and doing all this great work. So Bryon, thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thank you, Tim. Have a great one.